last time, and we never got any, so I hope it's streaming.
Saw my name on the screen.
So you have it on?
What do you mean?
You have it on.
I have it on over here.
Okay. But I need to push the red and the blue still when we get ready.
I'm
to
pushing
start.
the red and the blue, they're going.
Oh,
I just wanted to make sure, because I did this in the planning commission, and no.
So you already received,
everything.
Katie added,
Of course, we got LPA.
I had a list, but I wanted to make sure.
Power strip is on.
That's why, and I think she was short one, so there's
that's okay.
actually,
I did read it.
okay.
Well, and that's exactly what I did last meeting. Nothing.
Does the
And of course, it was a long one.
We're adding it to the agenda.
perfect.
Yes.
That was my last thing I forgot to ask you.
Yeah, so I will, when we go to the approval of the agenda, I'm gonna add it, so you can motion to approve with the addition.
All right.
This is like,
Holy cow, this chair is tall.
it's going.
Candy Gerber. I think it's in your box, we'll get them.
Where's, I don't even know where that is. I can't get in there right now though, can I?
Hi, how are you? No kidding.
How's that hose reel going?
It's like a dream come true.
Really? Alright, what did I print out?
Hey Tony, how are ya? Good.
I know, I was gonna get it in the, I'll get it in the morning.
Community college,
Yeah.
so there was.
I'll bring my check in the morning.
For the officer to go through the academy, and then we're reimbursed for that.
No, the online one, no, because I'm gonna go to, I'm going to the conference.
How are you?
when is it?
September.
Great. Doing
Yeah.
great.
Yes, that's
That is you. I guess we should get another name tag.
Hi. I know it is.
I think this is our latest update.
I'll switch it out with the one that's on my fridge.
We all need questions for the world.
Lori, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
I
Yeah? Fun. Hello, sir.
Well, so I guess they decided you were no longer contagious or something?
Wow. I have not, but I know.
I finally told them I didn't
was
need
there
it.
for a stint.
Oh, I guess we do
as
have them
the
up. Should we separate ourselves?
Oh yeah, no, sorry. Nope, no idea.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I think I'm good.
Okay.
Katie right on there.
That's
okay.
Okay, this is, okay.
Fun.
Oh, thank you.
Hello. So everybody, we got a copy of the senior discussion.
We
That was
do,
all in there, and it is a handout, and then Phyllis
then
brought you
Kathy
another one,
just
so that's why it looks like a duplicate
Yeah,
on
I
your
mean, I
file
was
there.
wondering about that. I don't think I ever got my paycheck this week.
Oh, then yes, yours is in your mailbox then.
I don't even know where they are.
I don't know. I've never
Have
ever
an
used mine.
agenda item to add.
Okay. Cool. It's like a discussion item.
Yeah, I'm gonna add it to business, so 5B.
Yes.
Our stage 1 fire ban.
Kathy, did you empty their mailbox?
But I will.
Yes, it is a little warm.
Good, we might need those guys to stick around.
No, it's printed too, because I printed it and Phyllis printed it.
I got name tags, I think
me go
they're
get
in
the
your
mail.
box. We'll grab them.
Katie, can I use your key to get
We have
in?
name tags?
Oh, nice.
I never go to my box.
Yeah, because it's
I
locked
looked at
up.
one.
It's like Fort Knox over there.
It's
know.
always locked up when I'm here because I'm only here at night.
I'll let you in. They give me the code.
Well, I don't usually empty the mailbox.
You special.
I do all mine here.
There we go.
Yes, we are not gonna have to recuse ourselves.
Which one? Okay.
Oh, great.
Who selects the image for each agenda, but it cracks me up.
I don't.
I have thought the same.
I'm like, is that Ice Cube?
Ooh, that was loud. Let me get a little mute going on here.
No, they did, okay. I know the Forest Service did, I didn't know what the county
It
had
went
done
out
there.
this morning. Did you not see it on Twitter? That's why you gotta sit up here.
No, I am not a Twitter kind of guy.
Wow.
It was Jeremy, it was changed.
Okay, thank you.
They're no longer vacant.
Thank you, Kathy.
Oh,
Well, thank you.
look at that. Josh, we exist.
Did you hear what the latest thing is that people who have had the vaccinations
My last week,
now
middle of part of it, we just like fall out.
I see it on the late night show.
The ones in the planning commission like that, but I never.
Oh my God, it is.
My stomach keeps
children are
growling.
getting
Oh my, I'm like,
Oh no, what happened?
the Lions in town this morning. I had to be there at 7, which means I had to get up at
haven't had a
5:30.
shot, but they have been
Did you walk down
someone
here?
who had a shot. Okay?
You have to stand
Stroke
firm.
by
They're
proximity.
not gonna get everything. they want.
See, there you go. You know these things.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I also read a very
Mail delivery.
Right?
Because you know I can't make it there.
after COVID, so the
Why do I have two of these? Did you get one of those? Everybody get one of these?
Thank you.
experience
Phyllis
lasting
brought it up
symptoms.
to make sure we all go. And I said, oh, it was included in our package.
Lasting symptoms of
from COVID. Oh, it could be a
Oh.
number of different things.
Well, yeah,
It's, I think it's the most we have.
a friend of mine, I've been trying to get in touch with him, but he's, I believe,
I'm like, honestly, I bet it is.
long
Planning
car.
commission last week was really good. It was packed.
He's just not getting better, you know,
Yeah.
No,
and he can't eat
No,
because it tastes bad.
it took my husband still doesn't have his taste and smell back.
And the planning commission, like, halfway through,
But
it, I got
it took him a long time to get his breathing under
somebody in
control.
the
He was in a
sprint
really
phone,
bad
like,
I'm
cycle.
sure
all
it's,
in the island.
I think it says bleeding.
No,
Oh, yeah. Check that.
both pretty important, but but he's fine with that, you know.
So that is not the updated. That is why I
Well, that's good.
But I
wanted
was
to
gonna
be
ask
in.
Ashley what she thought, if
changed
she
that
felt
to
like she'd
more
had,
of a-
you know, it could be.
Oh, she had?
Nobody could tell what it was, so she lightened
Oh, that's not much nicer like that.
river.
That was before I came on the board,
I
right?
like the bear.
Oh, no.
Yes, and we got approval from
The year after,
a representative at the
Oh,
city tribe.
okay.
yeah, because I had it, we had it in February, the fact that we had it in January.
I hope you like the fact that we're doing
They
that.
approved this grant.
I saw the rules and Tony already went after my husband.
Oh, yeah.
What am I doing?
I agree with you.
It's over here.
That's kind of weird.
Man, I'm hungry.
Are you going to pin him?
I have no idea.
I think
In the medics.
you're gonna be called up there for that.
It's possible. I'm okay. That's
Two homeworks.
We got like a minute. Is board all ready? You guys ready? All right, the time is now 6:30. I'm gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order dated Tuesday, June 15th, 2021. Roll call.
Trustee Black. Here. Trustee Dallison. Here. Trustee Joswick.
Here.
Trustee Moreland.
here.
Trustee Politis. Here. Trustee Cesaro.
Here.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Here.
All present.
All right, if everybody would stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Sounded really nice with people in the room, I will say. At this time, I would like to turn it over to Chief McIntyre for the pinning ceremony of Deputy Moreland.
Possibly.
Mayor, Board of Trustees, this is our first night and opportunity in the past year that we actually get to do an official swearing in of one of our new deputies. During COVID last year, we hired 2 new deputies, and unfortunately, because you couldn't bring in a whole lot of people or we were on Zoom, it wasn't the best way to do a swearing in. So our swearing ins took place in our office, either in the break room or somewhere. But tonight, now that we are opening back up, I just want to quickly introduce you to Deputy Moreland. Deputy Moreland lives here locally in Bayfield, and he is the first recipient of our $8,000 scholarship grant that we received. This is the first year that we received that to help him pay for the academy. And he graduated the academy. He was actually the class sergeant at the academy, so that was pretty cool that Bayfield had the class sergeant. And he's a military veteran of the Army, and we're very happy to have him here. He started the 3rd week of May, and he just finished up his first phase, correct? Just finished up his first phase, and he did very well, and he's moving on to his 2nd phase. So I'm glad to be back here doing an official swearing in. To me, it's always something very cool for the new deputy and also for me to do that for them. And it is my understanding that his wife, Brenna, will be pinning his badge. So let me have you come up. All right, raise your right hand. I state your name.
Raymond Moreland,
Swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and that I will be faithful
and that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true allegiance
to the state of Colorado
to the state of Colorado
and support the Constitution and laws thereof,
and support the Constitution and the laws thereof,
and that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
diligently and faithfully,
diligently and faithfully,
without partiality or prejudice,
without partiality or prejudice,
execute the office of Bayfield Deputy Marshal,
execute the office of Bayfield
Deputy Marshal,
Deputy Marshal
according to the Constitution,
according to the Constitution,
laws of this state,
laws of the state,
and town ordinances.
and town ordinances.
Congratulations again.
All right.
Congratulations. Welcome. All right. Are there any conflicts of interest to announce at this time? I'll go ahead and I consulted our attorney. Brenna, Lori, and I will recuse ourselves from a vote on 5A, but we will remain in the room for any discussion and answering of questions. Anybody else? All right, now is the time for general public input, limited to 10 minutes, 3 minutes per speaker, on issues not pertaining to any agenda items. Please step up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Dan Devojak. I live at 632 Samaritz, Bayfield, Colorado. My question to the board is, for the last 14 years, we've had a senior coordinator at the senior center. Now we're told that it's a waste of taxpayers' money to have somebody there. And I know 52 seniors that are taxpayers, citizens, and we don't think it's a waste of our money. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lucy Stewart, and I'm here.
Your address, please.
128 North Appaloosa in Bayfield. And the reason I'm here tonight is because the town has a contractor, TRC, in town that went in and did some destruction in my lawn last year, made a 4-foot hole, 4 foot deep around the meter. Left it uncovered for over 3 months. I had to call Jeremy. I also called TRC to see when they were going to come and cover it up. They finally came and covered it up, telling me they were coming back to fix it. They were going to fix in front of my driveway, or in front of my lawn, the ditch that was there. And as of today, it's still not done. Jeremy and I had a meeting with them, I believe in April, and to try to get, because they kept saying it was a language barrier. I speak Spanish, and I speak it well. And I would talk to the workers. Well, on Friday, I come home, and there's 2 guys out there with sod unrolling it. nothing underneath the sod, as hot as it is, that sod's not gonna stay alive. And so I said, what are you guys doing? And they're like, well, we were told to bring the sod, unroll it, so that you can have your lawn back. And I said, and you're unrolling it the way it is with nothing underneath, you guys are supposed to backfill that, because that's what you guys tore out of it. Well, they said, oh, the city does it. The city's supposed to repair everything that we didn't do, that we didn't fix. The city was not the contractor. I was always taught that if you are a contractor, you go back and leave it better or nicer than you found it. Jeremy has tried to deal with, and has been dealing on a regular basis with TRC, trying to get this fixed. On Friday, I called Jeremy and I said, hey, I got you guys in my yard, what's going on? And he said that they were supposed to call you and let you know they were coming out. They have no communication, and they don't care what they destroy. They've collapsed our culverts, they filled the culverts in, and there's big rocks. We can't mow along the front of our yards. And so Jake calls me shortly after I got off the phone with Jeremy, and he said, Lucy, Jeremy told me to call you. I said, yeah, because we have big issues out here. And he goes, well, I was there at that meeting, and I don't remember we were supposed to set that where the water drains into your driveway. Oh, I didn't know we were supposed to fix that. I think Jeremy was there. He remembers that conversation. They talked about going in and cleaning those ditches. They still haven't done it. So he called me on Friday. He said, I'll meet you Monday morning. I said, okay. I waited all day. Finally, about 10:30, he calls and he goes, oh, Lucy, I'm in Durango. I've got something really important to do. And I said, so our meeting wasn't important? And he goes, well, we'll get to you when we get to you.
Lucy, can you remind me of your address? Can you repeat that?
128 North Appaloosa.
Okay.
And then he goes, well, what about tomorrow at 2 o'clock, which would have been today? And I said, I already told him on Friday that my daughter got hurt, so I needed to bring her back from physical therapy in Durango at 2 o'clock every day on Monday through Friday, because they're trying to see that she's going to have surgery. And then he's still telling me on the phone, he goes, you know what? He goes, we'll get to you when we get to you. I am sick and tired of their lies. They say they want to be good neighbors. There's nothing good neighbors about what they're doing.
Okay.
And I just would like that before you guys finish paying them off, that they make sure that they go in and clean. Jeremy has been great in trying to help me get this resolved. Okay. And it's like they don't care what we're doing.
We'll follow up on this.
All right, thanks, I appreciate it.
Yes, definitely,
Thank you.
100%.
Thank you.
I'm Ruth Pope, 1072 North Cedar Drive. And I just wanted to say that I'm just one of many who are very saddened with the thought of maybe no longer having Brenda at the senior center. She greets us with open arms and is always glad that we're there, and she lets us know that. And no matter what the situation is, she listens with an open heart and an open mind. She's encouraging, she's trustworthy, we all love her, and we really miss her not being there and do look forward to her return. She's like missing a family member without her there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth.
I'm Phyllis Ludwig, 9205 County Road 521. I met yesterday with Katie and Ashley and Becky. We did have a good meeting. I gave the papers I had to Katie. She read them over. She did give me answers, and also to some senior citizens. But my main question is, this has run smoothly since 2008. Why are we trying to fix something that isn't broken? Our hours are, I think, back to where we should have them. But as far as filling out applications when you want to use the center, and I don't know why we can't go back to the way it was before. Like I say, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. Thank you.
Thank you, Phyllis. Yes. I just said thank you.
Oh.
No. Never.
Do we have anybody else that would like to address the board? All right. Moving on. Did everybody get a chance to look at the agenda? I would like to add 5B, the La Plata County Stage 1 fire restriction discussion. So I would entertain a motion to approve with the addition.
So move.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Who seconded?
Sorry.
Trustee Black.
Yes.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Joswick.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Politis.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor?
All right, did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes from June 1st, 2021?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes dated June 1st, 2021.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Black.
Yes.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Joswick.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Politis.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor?
All right, moving on to department reports. Becky, do you have anything to add to your report?
No updates.
Does the board have any questions for Becky while we have her here? Seeing none. Moving on to Kathy, do you have anything to add to your report?
I do not.
Does the board have any questions for Kathy? All right, moving on to our finance director reorganization.
So in your packet, you have a reorganization, and I corrected the fact that we do not have a vacancy. Josh Joswick is our trustee in that location. This basically would promote from within. It takes the temp that we hired from Unistaffing into a full-time position and moves Rachel Davenport into it's not under my authority to appoint her as a deputy treasurer or deputy town clerk. That's only within your authority. However, if that is something that you feel that you do not want to adopt tonight, then that she continues to be administrative assistant, would continue to do work with the utility bills and other things. We are 2 days into it. We did do some reorganization. We've been meeting. We will be meeting on a regular basis. And this is under probation until about the end of August. And everybody understands that at the end of August, if we feel that this is not appropriate and we need to actually look for a finance director, then we will make some changes. At this point, our couple days have been very smooth.
All right, any questions or comments? All right, moving on to our financial agenda items. 3A, we have our May 2021 disbursements. Did everybody get a chance to look at those?
Mm-hmm.
I would entertain a motion to accept the May 2021 disbursements.
Madam Mayor, I move that we accept the May 2021 disbursements as presented.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Black.
Yes.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Joswick.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Politis.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor?
All right, moving on to our town manager report on our financial statement status.
So it gave you a couple of clippets of the condition of our financial statements. I would have to state that our last financial director did a very sloppy job. It's very clear, and many times between Kathy and I, we asked her, do you have any questions on this? This is something new. Would you like more guidance, more direction? We'd be more than happy to do that. But those questions were never asked, and obviously it was very clear. She was the one that actually submitted the grant request, the reimbursement for the water fund, and instead of submitting the revenue to the water fund, she submitted it to the sewer fund. So those are things that we're correcting. There's a lot of small things, and there's a lot of larger things that we're going through. Kathy has been diligently going through those. We've been working with Cassell to update those, and of course, we're all there, a support team, to get the financials corrected.
Do we have any questions from the board? Seeing none, we will move on. All right, moving on to the ARP NEU discussion.
I'm sure that all of you have heard the metropolitan cities, and then they call the rest of us the NEUs, which is the non-entitlement unit. So I guess Bayfield is a non-entitlement unit, but we're in the company of many, many small towns. Bayfield has a total allocation of $675,879.49. We have applied for the first trench, as they call it, and they've accepted of our application, and we'll hear something more. All of the eligibility requirements are pretty restrictive. Learn a little bit more about that at Colorado City and County Managers Association next week, and also been working diligently to go through the webinars and all the information that has been provided by our federal and state representatives as well. So more to come on that as we get into the summer.
All right, any
Would
questions?
we be, just a question, are we gonna be able to use some of that money for capital projects and, or to leverage capital project money that is federal origin, in federal origin?
I'm going to say yes and yes, with some caveats that there's certain ways that you have to, that there's eligible manners in which those are spent.
Yeah,
This money that we're getting isn't of a federal origin, so that it will not affect us applying for money that comes from a federal origin. That's what, I guess that is the root of my question.
Yeah, it's clear as mud right now, and every municipality is trying to figure it out. That was the discussion.
Same thing. Okay.
I just wanted to say that I appreciated the opportunity to go to the dictionary and look up the word tranche.
I did too.
Didn't have a clue. Never heard that before.
All right, so we'll stay tuned on that. Moving on, at this time, I will now open the public hearing on the drought management plan. We do have our engineer Pete Foster from Right Water Engineers to provide a quick drought management plan.
Pete, if you'll unmute yourself, and there we are.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
So would you be able to see it, I guess? Yes.
I'll just share my screen with you.
Okay. Let me work on pulling that up. Sorry. Katie, is there something I need to share my screen?
So you have the option of sharing your screen. If you go to the green button towards the bottom, it says, there we go.
Okay, and then I will.
There it is.
All right.
Okay, can you guys see that okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So basically, just a little bit of background. So a drought management plan is a strategy for temporary supply and demand management to water supply shortages and emergencies. So that's what we're working on as a drought management plan. It typically includes mandatory and voluntary restrictions and temporary use of an alternative water supply for a temporary period of time. And we're trying to minimize water supply shortage emergencies and impacts on public health, safety, economic activity, and environmental resources.
Pete, can I ask you just to zoom in just a little bit? It's fairly small on our screen.
Okay,
Maybe not.
Nope.
Maybe not.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Let me see, is there, I'm not sure. I can zoom in on other tables and things, but I'm not as clear on.
So if you just go basically to the draft instead of the display view,
Okay.
There you go.
we
That's
can
much
read it
better.
from there.
There
It's
you
a
go.
little bit better.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. And let me.
That's even better.
See if I
Can you do that? Can
No,
you
we
do that
can
again?
do it on our end now.
Ah, there you go.
Okay, great. And so, we try to have the drought management plan done, before, to determine the actions and procedures for responding to a drought before an actual water shortage emergency occurs. So I think we're coming, obviously we're into a drought year, and we're, just getting this plan finalized right in the nick of time. Any questions so far?
Nope.
Okay. So basically, current progress, so we worked with the town staff to develop the drought management plan. The town formed a drought task force committee. We met with the drought task force committee twice, and on the first time, we just kind of went over the planning document generally and what we were trying to achieve. Then we circulated a draft of the plan, and then we had another meeting with the drought task force to go through the plan and incorporate the comments. And they were very helpful, great conversations. And then we finalized the drought management plan draft, and it's been sent out for public review and comment. And today is, I think, the last day of comments. And so here we are at the hearing. And then just for next steps would be review and formal adoption of the drought management plan by the town council. Then we'd move into, I think we'd recommend continuing to monitor the 2021 drought conditions that we're in, particularly inflow into the Bayfield Reservoir, and basically follow the drought management plan. Here are the people who were on the Bayfield Drought Task Force Committee. It was Katie Sickles and Jeremy Schultz and Ron Saba from the town. We had Ed Tolan from La Plata Archuleta Water District, Derek McCoy, Gabe Candelaria, Michael Weisner, Tom Au, and Johnny Valdez. And great group to work with, a lot of really good ideas. Really appreciated their input. It made for a much better plan. Any questions at this point in time?
No.
Nope.
So kind of getting a little bit into the guts of the drought management plan. Basically we were looking at some different indicators to try to determine what level of drought are you in. And so what we did is we took about 20 years of data, flow data on the Pine River, and we ranked them, basically driest to wettest. So the driest year was 2002, and the inflow into Bayfield Reservoir in 2002 was 42,000 at 100 acre feet, just shy of 100 acre feet. And, that was an extremely dry year, and I think that's the year we had the Missionary Ridge fire, and I'm sure folks remember how dry it was in 2002. And then we have another tranche or section of drought, which is basically
60?
a serious drought, but not quite as dry as 2002. And that included 2018, 2012, 2003, which was really dry after 2002, but we had a lot of rain that summer, so it kind of picked up the inflows and saved us. And then 2011. And so what we're looking at there is, measured inflows to Bayfield Reservoir between 70,000 and 170,000 acre feet. And then what we're using is a snow water equivalent. That's basically the equivalent of the water in the snowpack, I would call it. And we're looking for the max snow water equivalent in the snowpack from a snow-tell station up in the Vallecito drainage basin, the Pine River drainage basin, between 6 inches and 15 inches. And then we're looking for administration, Division of Water Resources Administration, how deep did the call get? And so for our serious drought, the depth of the call is around priority 12. For our extreme drought, the depth of the call got down to priority 2, which is the bean ditches right in there with the priority 2. And then the P1 is the tribal water rights. And then your most senior water right that the town has, the Los Pinos ditch shares the Los Pinos ditch, or the town shares the Los Pinos ditch, and that's a priority 4 water right. So in an extreme drought, your priority 4 water right, your most senior water right is starting to go out of priority. In a serious drought, both your Schroeder and your Los Pinos ditch are remaining in priority. Okay? And then we have kind of a sustainable conservation level. This is where, we do not consider these to be drought years. And this is basically, both of your water rights would be in priority and no need to be putting in drought conditions. So today, what we're seeing is a predicted inflow. We came up with an equation just based on the snow water equivalent. That maximum, we were predicting an inflow of about 145,000 acre feet. And then the Bureau of Reclamation, they continue to provide predictions of inflow, and they're predicting 110,000 acre feet of the Vallecito Reservoir this year. So we're predicting a serious drought contagion this year, right? Which could get worse if it continues to stay dry and we don't have monsoons. Any questions there? I know I covered a lot.
No.
Carry on.
Okay. So then we also looked at your water rights. And so these are basically, and we're focused here on, the water rights that are decreed for the municipal use. And so here's that 1 CFS of senior Los Pinos water, that priority 4. And you have 0.8 CFS of P12 water, which is the Schroeder ditch that was changed to municipal uses. And then you have a relatively junior water right for the pump station at 4 CFS. So this is the total amount of water and CFS that the town has for municipal uses. And then you have a pending water rights change case that we recently got another approval for a substitute water supply plan so we could use this water this year. And then, so this is the total amount of water you have from an adjudicated basis, adjudicated water rights, and then these are your leases from Vallecito Reservoir. So you have a lease of 90 acre feet from Vallecito Reservoir, of which 30 acre feet is firm and 60 acre feet is on standby. And the difference between firm and standby, firm you've used in the past, you used about 30 acre feet back in 2002. You pay a higher price for what's been made firm, and then you pay a lower price for standby, but they make it available to you. But once the water goes from standby to firm, it will stay firm, and you'll pay the firm rate from then on. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Cruising right along.
I do have a question.
We have a question, Pete.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have a question. On page 33, you reference a case that is currently ongoing about the process of changing more of our P4 water rights. But then you just referenced a case that had been decided. Is this the same case?
Same case. While the case is pending, you can request what they call a substitute water supply plan, which allows the Division of Water Resources to approve for you to use that water while the case is still pending in front of the water course. So we don't yet have a decree for that water right, but we have a temporary right to use that water for this year. And then if we chose to use it again next year, we'd have to renew that application for the SWSP.
Okay, thank you.
And that we kind of got that, we received that kind of after we had finished this drought management plan. So it just didn't have that information in it.
Yeah, thanks.
So anyway, here's our current 2020 water demands. And then we have, system losses. And so we kind of back this up, and the system losses includes the evaporation from the reservoir right in front of the water treatment plant, and also backwash and the efficiencies. And so we came up with a total, treated water demand, and then how to, then we backed that water demand up to how much you have to take, from the river, so that we have a good handle on what you need in the river intake. And so we calculated these based on population growth 2050, and 2070. And then we compared them with how your water rights would be in priority on a daily basis during these different types of drought years. And we basically then were able to calculate where you might have shortages in future years. And so what we did is we just kind of mixed up, we'd have a serious drought, and then, sustainable level, and then another serious drought, and then an extreme drought, and a serious drought, and then another serious drought. We don't know when these droughts will occur in the future, but we just wanted to kind of put a projection tool together just to show how, once you go through these droughts and you have, when you have to start using your standby water from PRID, you'll have to start paying a higher rate for that once that standby is made firm. And then also you'll have transaction costs, because over time, as the town of Bayfield grows, you'll acquire more shares of ditch company shares because you're surrounded by your irrigated area. So you're trying, as you annex those parcels, you'll need to change those water rights. And so we tried to include transaction costs to try to get us a good handle on what are the, costs of the drought, in essence. And, and part of the reason we wanted to do this was to give some information to, a future rate study to be looking at, drought surcharges, because droughts, a lot of times people don't think of how they can actually cost the town money because they bump you up into having to lease more water from Bioceto on a firm basis, or they bump you into having to change more water from irrigation to municipal, and those, those all have costs. And then, so we have total annual costs here, and then we did a per capita cost in the last column, if that makes sense. So a lot going on here, but I thought that this was a really interesting part of the drought study, the drought management plan, and trying to inform, a future rate study with some of these costs on raw water supplies from droughts. Any questions, comments?
Nope.
Okay, so digging right in, so basically, on the sustainable level, right now, you have basically odd or even address watering between the hours of 9 p.m. and 6 a.m., and this occurs between May 15th through September 15th, and the town had implemented this efficiency measure, let me call it, and basically, this is a sustainable level, this is an existing activity, and it's applied to residential consumers, and we're seeing, well, since it's been being used, we're not thinking that we'll see a whole lot of additional reduction in water supply efficiencies from this implementation of this measure, because it's already being implemented. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then so that is kind of an ongoing, whether you know, even when you're not in a drought, that this is at a sustainable level. And then if we get into a serious drought, the town would declare that you have a serious drought, and we move into, you know, these type of drought measurements, a lot of notification, precautionary steps. A lot of the people, you know, the drought task force was really trying to implement, you know, education and follow-up and voluntary reductions, you know, and so we're trying to reach out to get the information out on the town's websites and to ask customers to voluntarily reduce water through bill stuffers and, you know, approaches to generate positive collaboration within the community. You know, and, you know, things like target water savings goals and let the community know how well they are doing and reducing the water use during a drought. And so that would be started, you know, during the declaration of a serious drought. And then the other one would be to reach out. We have our list of the high water users, and we would reach out to high water users, large water users, and contact them and discuss approaches to reduce their consumption. And this would be pretty much earmarked towards the top 5 commercial water users, and this could change through time to maybe be the top 10 commercial water users in a few. And then, you know, and then again, update public of increased drought level and intensify public discussions that the drought is not, you know, loosening, and so that's against all residential. And then start for the town to maintain trees and shrubs and vegetation by hand watering and limit other outdoor water uses. And so this is really focused on the town water use during a serious drought. And then basically prohibiting washing impervious surfaces, sidewalks, cars, and driveways, and have a first, second, third violation tied to that, with some fees for people who are violating this. And this would be another drought management strategy that would be implemented during the serious drought, and it would impact both the residential and the town water use. And then as we move into the extreme, we would, you know, sustain certain landscape elements such as trees, shrubs, and gardens by hand watering only. Again, that's focused on the town. This is, you know, the town parks and such. Reduce all outside irrigation, including parks and town-owned properties. And then prohibit all daytime irrigation unless necessary for emergency response operations. This is, you know, in a first, second violation penalties. This would be against all water users in the town. And this is, we estimate, a 30 to 40% reduction in water use from implementing that type of measure during an extreme drought. Any questions?
Nope.
No.
So basically, in a nutshell, you know, what our recommendations from the long-term drought mitigation strategies is on the supply side, you know, continue to acquire and changing water rights, you know, from irrigation to municipal use, you know, continue to improve just overall water efficiency. And then on the demand side, you know, a new town ordinance during serious and extreme level drought conditions with these measures we just outlined. And then we recommend, you know, looking at this drought surcharge potentially in a rate study, because I think we're finding that when the town goes through droughts and they have to lease additional water from Bayfield Reservoir, that we're seeing an impact to the town's budget. So we would recommend this drought surcharge be incorporated into a future rate study. Katie, is there anything else you want to add?
I don't have anything else to add. This is the first drought management plan that the town of Bayfield has had. You have had an extreme drought. You have had 5 serious droughts. You know, this could be the 6th serious drought, or we could move back into extreme drought. So it's a matter of getting the message out about water usage. And, you know, maybe the sprinkler doesn't need to go on every odd night. Maybe it needs to go on every other odd night. Trying to get that information out there.
At this time, I'm going to keep Pete on the line here, but I'm going to open it up to general public input or questions or comments from anyone in the room. The board, you'll have your chance after we hear the public. So if anybody has anything to ask while we have Pete on the line, you could step up to the podium and state your name and address and ask your question. We have anyone? All right, at this time, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and open it up for the board discussion. So, who wants to start?
Are we firm on those violation amounts?
Those violation amounts were changed by ordinance basically for a normal year. The violation amounts now would probably be increased back up to a serious amount. I don't think there was a lot of enforcement before because of the concern of, you know, maybe the $500, the third set. But, you know, there's all a drought surcharge, additional, you know, decreasing the amount of monthly water allowance that you have. There's all these other steps that can be taken. You know, I would certainly encourage you to consider a drought, when the drought plan goes into implementation, that you look at a fairly serious charge.
He had referenced the high water users. Have we identified those?
Because customer accounts are private, that would be something that the town would work with. We could probably give you a summary of it, just like we do with our sales tax, but we would be contacting them directly.
Yeah, my question was, have we identified them?
We have, we know who they are.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Katie, what are some strategies for outreach to the community? We have a lot of new people coming into Bayfield who might not have, that aren't coming from a place where they've probably had to experience drought, and they may not understand, and they may not read the newsletters. So what are some ways we can outreach to the community so they understand the seriousness of the drought?
So I'm going to let Jeremy do a little addressing that because he's out on the ground.
Well, at this point in time, what we're really looking at is just public information. Beth's been doing a great job posting some information and stuff for our residents. The Facebook page, we have a lot of followers on that. And then we're also, at this point in time, we're really looking at the 9 a.m. Public Works is doing a patrol. We are handing out warnings and violations to second and third users at this time. We haven't handed out any tickets yet to date. Everybody's been really cooperative. We stopped, talked to them. I'd say it's probably about 50-50 people that are aware of the odd even water restrictions. And then again, there's a few people that don't necessarily want to conform with those restrictions. And I think that's where Katie was mentioning more of going into having some type of a penalty for blatant abuse of the watering restrictions. And, you know, right now we've had a couple almost million-gallon production days over the last few days with it being hot. So we usually don't see those till mid-July, beginning of August. So it's been super dry, and we're using a ton of water right now.
Okay. Is there any way we can maybe put some communication out along with our billing? Because now that we have that new fancy billing that comes out?
That is our plan.
Okay.
Is to continue to use that newsletter as information out to our citizens. And keep in mind that the Public Works crews can only contact those that they're seeing it during their work schedule. An actual rate change, drought surcharge, that is, you know, you decrease the allowance, monthly allowance, and start to charge more for gallons, that gets people's attention really quickly. Unfortunately, that's not the direction we would like to go. But when it comes to looking at the amount of water that we have to use, you know, those are tools that you can implement. So it's a good discussion for the board to decide how they would like to proceed.
You know, I'm thinking that another way, I'm talking about education. I'm not talking about Jeremy's team having to go around and tell people to turn off their water after a certain time. But I'm thinking when we do town events, we have a big 4th of July event coming up. If we have block parties coming back, there's opportunity there to have a table to educate the member, because the people who come to these events are typically members of the town, just so that they can learn what a drought is and what it means and why there would be a surcharge and what we're looking at, and they can see the numbers. And if we declared a serious drought or an extreme drought, I know Montezuma County declared a drought emergency. So I don't know if La Plata County is looking at that or if the town would look at that, but I think there's ways that we could, there's other ways to educate and outreach that I think could be beneficial.
In the past communities where I've worked with, typically there was a team, the conservation district, the state water, natural resources, the towns, the county. Basically, we had teams that did do education. 2002 was one of those areas that we had those education tables. So that's, you know, this is all about basically reconnecting those relationships after this pandemic. And of course, Jeremy and Ron Saba have you know, those relationships, so it's just a matter. I thought that the drought management task force, I thought they were very helpful as well, understanding kind of where we're at. So that would be another key individuals to assist.
Cool.
All right, does the board have any other questions for Pete while we have him here? So moving forward, what is our next step?
So my recommendation is that you adopt the drought management plan. I can bring some other draft items that you can consider in ordinance form when you actually implement a drought. It's unfortunate that we got this the draft done so late. So the next meeting it would come to, it could be your July 6th meeting. And may have to be an emergency ordinance by that time.
I mean, I feel like the document is complete. It was easy to understand. It was, you know, it was a lot easier than other stuff I've been reading, but.
The only problem is there's a few sections in there, they said once they'll finish writing it, so I don't know if we can.
So if the board is ready for adoption, we can adopt it as with those additions, completions.
I'm sorry.
I said if the board is ready to adopt it, we can adopt it with those conditional additions.
If you're ready to adopt it tonight, I would certainly encourage that. You can adopt this plan tonight. And of course, then Wright Water engineers will finish it and we'll get information to you. There is one correction. There is a document, a place in the document where it says 9 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Oh.
That watering time is actually 6 p.m. to 9 a.m.
Okay.
So that would be the only correction that we would need to make. Other than that,
And I also corrected that Derek McCoy is not an employee of the Public Works Department.
thank you.
Sorry about that one also. But on the future writing, it really is, we put in there that it was formally adopted on this date, and you know, it's just kind of waiting for your adoption, and then we put that together, and then we send the whole thing to the CWCD for their final approval.
What about the executive summary? Because that's missing too.
And that would be in the executive summary also.
Okay, thank you.
Well, if the board is comfortable moving forward, I would entertain a motion to adopt.
So moved.
I would second that.
All right, do we have any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Black.
Yes.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Joswick.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Politis.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
Okay, moving on to old business. Do we have any?
Thank you, Pete.
Oh, thank you, Pete. Sorry, we'll let you go now. You're welcome to hang out, but. Do we have any general public input pertaining to old business 5A or B on the agenda? If not, we'll move on to our mural proposal. And I will.
I don't think I have an updated one on this.
It's on the additional. I mean, I can just give you my updates. We did contact Linda Baker. She's a council member from the Southern Ute Tribe to update, and we got her blessing on the update on there. I will also tell you that that is not the final, because there was an update on the L. I guess the river was not so clear, so that is now very clear. And just keep in mind that she can change things day of. So she's ready for any other input from the board. And like I said, I will have the three of us recuse ourselves from the vote on this, but if there's no other questions.
Sorry, I appreciate the changes. I love the B. And I think this is just a really good, feel-good thing that we could hopefully get done before the 4th of July. And it really goes in hand with what we've been trying to do with wayfinding and just making our parks picturable and enjoyable to the community. And of course, we don't have a ton of money to do a lot of our very expensive wayfinding, so I feel like this is a very good, inexpensive option. Especially if the chamber is willing to put up the other half of that money. I really appreciate that, so that's my opinion on it.
And we did look into the funding from Local First, and Durango has a creative arts district, and that's a program that Local First helps through their 501c3, so anyway.
Okay, I mean, if there's no further questions, I would entertain a motion.
I would move that we approve $1,320 for 50% of the mural cost on the Joe Stevenson Park dugout building.
I'll second that.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Black.
Yes.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Joswick.
Yes.
Trustee Politis.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, moving forward to our additional agenda item, we have 5B, our La Plata County Stage 1 fire restriction discussion. And you should have a handout there.
So as a statutory town, you do have the ability. Of course, your town attorney is also here to represent the town. I think I lost the battery here. See, it works now. The town is also planning on a fireworks display on July 4th. La Plata County and the U.S. Forest Service obviously exclude the town of Bayfield, the town of Ignacio, and the city of Durango. But this is worth the discussion with the Board of Trustees. We feel it's probably best to cancel the fireworks for the 4th of July and move them either to Heritage Days or to New Year's Day. I understand that there's some concern about those that may not be expecting fireworks those days, but I think if we got the message out that fireworks would be a different day. So anyway, it's worth a discussion by the Board of Trustees.
I mean, I would like to bring Bruce to the table on that discussion. And what is how much time do we have to give the fireworks company notice?
Well, anytime there's a fire ban, we have an agreement that we can cancel them.
But they don't need like a 10-day heads
No.
up or, okay.
There's something about a fire ban is pretty immediate.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I need to understand, your concern was that Bruce wasn't here
Yeah, I mean, I would like to bring Bruce to the table on a discussion.
before we act? Yeah, okay.
Decide whether or not we're gonna do them.
Except we're not gonna be able to act in time, so I think the decision is now. And, we need to make a decision today. And I don't think that, the input of the fire chief will make a lot of difference one way or the other with respect to the decision that needs to be made, because it is so stinking dry. It is so dry.
I mean, I think it does, because I would value his input on this. That's all I'm saying. I would like to have a discussion with Bruce before we make a decision, and I don't think that we have to, I mean, we can call it at any time. We don't have to do it in a public meeting.
So we do have a 4th of July planning committee that has been working on this for quite a few months. We actually meet on Friday. I was planning to have a discussion with Bruce before Friday. But, you know, I think it's important enough because all of these just went into effect today, to bring it before the board.
I would like to hear what Chief Evans has to say.
Yeah, I would too. And I also think we have 2 weeks of pray for rain. Because that could change things, so.
Do we not have a meeting scheduled for the 28th?
The 28th, you do have a
So
meeting.
we could put a decision item on at that point in time if we need to?
Yes.
I mean, and look, I agree. I think it's dangerous. I think it's dry.
Yeah, me
But that, without the input of the rest of our town and our team, with Bruce Evans, I just want to wait for that discussion. So
Yeah.
I would appreciate holding out to have him in the room.
Yeah. Do the right thing.
So, all right, is there any other questions or comments?
No, as long as we're in agreement that we'll make sure these meetings happen prior to the 4th of July. Okay.
Is that okay, Katie?
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, moving on to new business. We have, do we have any general public input pertaining to items 6A through C on the agenda? Speak now or forever hold your peace. All right, Resolution 488, DOLA EIAF broadband planning.
So at the time, at our last meeting, I was assuming that we would be asking for a project for $1.2 million. That's not the case. It's $574,000 to do the middle mile. The town has already budgeted $200,000 for broadband. So the additional about $87,000 would come out of capital improvements. We had also budgeted $200,000 for Dove Ranch for construction. That is just not going to take place this year. We still have too many I's to dot and T's to cross. But that would be where the remaining amount would come from, unless you would like to reduce it. When I talked to Deeply Digital is really busy right now, but they feel that they could cut out $174,000 basically, but it would be a portion of town that would not be the middle mile. My biggest concern is that the school district is going to lose their $300,000 for broadband implementation if we don't do something really quickly. They have to spend it by the end of January 2022.
And, question, for the Energy and Mineral Impact Assistance Grant, what is the time frame on that? When, we apply, and then when do we know about it?
So their fiscal year ends the end of June. Currently, right now, DOLA has budgeted $5 million for broadband planning and implementation. In July 1st or next month, they will go to $2.5 million. I've been encouraged to go ahead and submit in June, and they said that by 60 days, because it's a broadband project, we don't go through the normal interview process. it goes through a much smaller core group that makes the decision for the board. They thought about 60 days, and then we would be constructing in October, basically through your winter season. So those are things that you have to be aware of. Most winter towns stop construction in November. You may be pulling up some pavement that you can't redo until the hot plant opens up again. So those are some things that you may need to be aware of. But we're looking at the school district. It's kind of a complex issue. However, I really would hate to see the fact that we just let the $300,000 from the school district go, or we start to compete in a much smaller pool, within a much smaller pool with more interest for broadband.
Yeah, and that clear as mud spending on the ARP money, I've also heard
Yeah,
could be
there
used for
ag-
broadband. We just don't know yet, so.
You know, and that gets back to that question that I posed earlier about the source of funds to begin with, because if there's any federal dollars, we can't use those to leverage further federal dollars. And so we're always looking for money that's coming from a state or local source, and if we can kind of keep those sources of funds separate as we can, so that when we come to that point where we need to leverage money, it makes it a lot easier.
I understand that. You may realize that there's quite a few strings with that money.
Oh, yes.
So, to proceed slowly and appropriately with those funds is the direction to go. I can't address those funds in this request.
Yeah, I think this is a good solution, and I think we do have a little bit of a time crunch on our hands. We've discussed with that money from the school. I think this is a good start to solving some of our internet problems. So
anything that we would be maybe losing the ability to repair because it's happening in November, none of that wouldn't exceed $400,000. You know what I mean?
So the town will basically have the option of spending that usually about 12 to 18 months. That would be our option for our funding, but not the school district's funding.
Right, okay.
does the board have any other questions or comments? I would entertain a motion at this point.
I would make a motion to approve Resolution 488 for DOLA EIAF Broadband Planning and Implementation Grant Request.
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Black.
Yes.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Joswick.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Politis.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, moving on to Resolution 489, appointing a deputy town clerk and deputy treasurer.
So in most of the small communities, I've always had a deputy town clerk, and I was a little surprised that Bayfield did not have a deputy town clerk. I understand there used to be one. The comment I got was, well, they just got rid of it because that person didn't do anything. Well, it's just like insurance. You have a backup. And I understand that there's a couple times that Kathy has been basically out of the state doing payroll because we don't have somebody that could do payroll at certain points. So I think that having a deputy treasurer, a deputy town clerk for those aspects that, I mean, we do expect our employees to have a life and a family. So we want to, I think that Rachel is a really good choice. She used to be one of your elected officials. So she knows a little bit about that position, but I am very proud to think that she will do a very good job as the deputy clerk and deputy treasurer.
All right. Does the board have any questions or comments?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 489, appointing a deputy town clerk and deputy treasurer.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Black.
Yes.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Joswick.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Politis.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor?
And thank you, Rachel, for stepping up on that.
And we actually will swear her in at another time.
Okay.
Okay.
How's your new office?
I brought the oath. We can swear her in.
We'll let our town clerk swear her in.
Oh, let's
Let's do it.
proceed.
Get it over with.
Proceed.
Yeah, just gotta go to work tomorrow.
Oh, you want her to work tomorrow, huh?
Okay, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Rachel Davenport,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Colorado,
the Constitution of the State of Colorado,
and the ordinances of the town of Bayfield, Colorado.
and the ordinances of the town of Bayfield, Colorado,
That I will bear faith and allegiance to the same.
that I will bear faith and allegiance to the same,
That I take this obligation freely without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion.
that I take this
Gotta read that one.
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion,
And that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of the office to which I have been appointed.
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of the office to which I've been appointed.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, moving on to budget approval of $7,500 for professional CPA consulting services.
So I did provide kind of a budget layout of how this $7,500 is not in addition to the budget, but it is removed from labor cost basically to the operating expenditures of the administration. And I do believe that it's important to stop self-training employees and to actually have, good training and make sure that there's somebody that they can go ask questions to. And I think that if we work through this probation period for our financials and our new finance director and our deputy treasurer and our treasurer, I think that we would be in a much better place, hopefully come budget time.
All right, do we have any questions
No.
from the board?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve $7,500 for professional CPA consulting service.
I would second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further comments? Roll call, please.
Trustee Black.
Yes.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Joswick.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Politis.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor?
All right, moving on to the discussion portion of our evening. Our housing strategy.
So I continue to kind of put this in front of you, looking for anything that you may want me to look into. I haven't looked into the irrigation water for Cinnamon Heights. I was told pretty clearly that the town may be the entity that could basically redo the irrigation system. There is an irrigation ditch right there, but I understand in my world that probably would have to go to court for adjudication of a new diversion. But anyway, that's one thing I looked into. I've also felt that it's important to kind of take these pods or these units and say, you know, how do I start to say what do we do with this pod and that pod instead of using numbers. I've learned that kind of using names and related to something kind of helps kind of bring, okay, we're going to talk about the Arlington, or we're going to talk about the Freedom, or we're going to talk about the Essex. These are actually U.S. Naval commissioned ships, and you may find a idea that sails, and you may find an idea that sinks.
I think it's kind of slick. I like this system here.
So I I also provided, again, the links to the other housing authorities, just so you kind of get an idea of what's out there as our neighbors. I think there's some areas where I don't necessarily think that that's the way the town's going, but I think that you kind of need to know what's out there. That afternoon, just before our meeting on the 28th, we'll be meeting with the RHA. That's a retreat to figure out what La Plata County is doing as a whole. And Kelly is one of your elected officials that will be joining. So anyway, this is, again, I'm just looking for any input that you want me to research before the 28th, or we just dig into it on the 28th with a couple options and ideas.
Yeah, I would just ask the board to come with all of your questions and comments. Let's just have a chance to hash it out. I have been getting hit up left and right on this. I've told everybody that I promise we will address all the questions and concerns before we ever break ground on this project, and we have a long way to go. So, and I have also said that we will have plenty of public input and chances for our community to get involved in the discussion. This meeting on the 28th is for us. The public is certainly invited to listen, but this will be for us to hash out. So just be ready. Start writing things down.
Ashley, are you able to share some of the questions and concerns or comments that you're getting from the public so we have a better idea of what some people are asking?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing that is coming across is this concept of what we're calling it. I think the affordable housing discussion scares people. I think they think it's going to be the projects or, you know, a low income subdivision, which so I think, you know, by calling it our pods, by calling it our workforce housing, I mean, I think we all need to be on the same page as what we're calling this, because there's definitely some negative connotation to people out in the community. I have also gotten a lot of high fives. People are excited about this project, and especially from contractors. They want to get involved. So I think we're off to a good start, but there is so much, there's so many
so many details.
questions we need to answer on this. So, are you scared still?
No. I was just going, I'm not even going to say it. Instead of Cinnamon Heights, I think we should not call it Cabrini Green.
That's probably a really good idea.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out. But I mean, other than that, I just want everybody to come in fully loaded for that discussion.
So our setup for that will be a work session. What we're probably going to do is you'll still have the dyad, and then we'll just put the tables here. I don't plan to have it on Zoom. It will be on YouTube, but just kind of remember we'll try to capture that what's going on. This sometimes gets a little bit, for some reason, this actually computer here that's up on the screen the button will not move very quickly. So I've had a couple blips in this thing. So anyway, I just to really have a good discussion, you know, knock down, drag out, whatever you want to call it.
Okay. All right, any other on that topic? Do we have any board reports?
David, did you want to talk
Well,
about?
we had TPR and Southwest COG, but TPR probably was the most notable in the sense that there was a grant that had been applied for by, I believe it was Cortez, that they decided not to use for multimodal. So the thought with the group was to allow the projects that already had an okay to reapply to augment their budget, so to speak. So Katie was kind of aware of what was going on there. So at any rate, we'll be able to put in another application for additional funds to help with our project between the roundabout and the fire department.
Okay. Anybody else?
Planning Commission was interesting.
to say the least.
I don't really know how to explain really what happened at our Planning Commission meeting other than I think LPA admitted that they dropped the ball with several of our constituents concerning the high voltage, low current, massive electric lines that the co-op would like to put on some constituents, replace the existing poles with newer, higher voltage, lower current lines. They'd promised that they would get us some numbers, so hopefully we'll see what comes of that. They were throwing around some dollar signs of $3+ million to reroute it to the state line.
Where is this that they're talking about doing this?
I mean, it's right right through
If you take-
Basically
Bayfield
through
Center.
Mountain View.
If you
Mountain-
take Sauer Drive
Yeah.
east and west from municipal limit to municipal limit, that would be its direction. And the one thing that I think they had not cleared is the easements. They're going to increase the easement size, which when you go from 20 feet to 50 feet, there's a lot of structures that are currently
vegetation, structures.
trees, and, you know.
And when they've been telling you the easement's gonna be one distance and then another distance, or is it gonna be this from center, or is it gonna be this total? And, yeah, we feel like our people kind of were getting some misinformation or lack of information, and it could have been due to COVID. You know, this has been going on for a year, so they're giving the mea culpa, and it seems like LPA is going to do some research and come back to us at the next planning meeting with amounts like, what does having something like this do to your property value? You know, we're not the only people that have, and to your health, which they have assured us that it's not going to affect their health, but there are other people indeed who have done some research and feel differently. So it's far from over.
How much eminent domain do they have? And I mean, do we have a voice in this?
I think we do have a voice in
Or are
this
they-
because
are they
it's a
just being
cooperation.
informative?
You know,
Yeah.
it's a co-op, and so I think that we absolutely have a voice in this. And they were coming at us with, you know, $3-point-something million to reroute it, and I want to see what that looks like to constituents, to all of the co-ops' electric bills. I just feel like $3 million, pardon me, for being jaded in local government, but it just doesn't seem like that much money to just have it not be our problem anymore. And this is to provide redundancy to Pagosa. It's to provide redundancy to like all of Hinsdale County. I mean, it is
a
something
big
that is
deal.
absolutely needed. And so I don't think there's anybody in Bayfield saying it's not something that's needed, but it may not be appropriate to put in people's yards.
NIMBY.
NIMBY,
When
exactly.
they talk about relocating the line, are they talking about relocating it down to the,
Either tri-state or the highway.
tri-state line that's coming across
Mhm.
there, or further down to the highway?
We got a couple different options.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then they made some points. They talked about the highway and how it doesn't really always make sense to put electric lines near highways because vehicles leave highways all the time and hit electric lines, and you know that's why we need redundancies. And so you know they were making a lot of sense, but I also feel like there was a lot of misinformation and a lot of missing information, and they realized it as well.
They did not reach out to the homeowners.
No.
They just did not do their homework there, so
No.
we sent them packing to come back another day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that in your general discussion here, the thing that concerns me the most is the expansion of the right-of-way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Because, you know, once the right-of-way is expanded, then they get the ability to do to that what they want on the surface, and you might have spent tens of thousands of dollars on nice ornamental trees, and the next thing you know, you don't have ornamental trees anymore.
Or a house.
Or a house, or an outbuilding, or, I mean, they had some very valid concerns with right-of-way, and so, yeah, it's come up, no fear. It's being questioned, maybe not addressed, but.
Yeah, so they'll get back to us when they're ready to
I have to make a point of
to
pointing
approach
that
the
next
planning
meeting.
commission. Any other board reports?
Not a board report, but I want to make a comment to all of our seniors for coming tonight. I appreciate you just coming to say how you feel, and we understand that there are definitely changes going on. We have a whole reorganization of staff actually happening, and this has been happening since we got a new town manager, and things are changing. So your apprehension is valid. But we as a board support Katie, our town manager, in what she is doing. And so we want you to know that if you have any concerns, have things that you want to discuss with her, we are supporting her in her decisions that she has to make in managing the senior center and managing the employees that work and help bring that senior center together. So we have to support her decisions. We do support her decisions. We have had discussions on this, and this is the way that we do believe we want to move forward with the center. So we do hear your concerns. They are valid. We want to see you guys back at the senior center as much as possible, and we just want you to know that you're definitely heard, and we really appreciate you coming tonight.